Good evening, everyone. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here with you. Super excited. It's awesome to see so many friendly faces in the audience and people interested in coming out and expanding their social networks and their business networks. So welcome. I see lots of new faces. It would be mean of me to point people out. Megan Gustafson, Anna Kanigan, and Alexis Epp, but this is kind of what the night is about, right? It's about getting out of your comfort zone, networking, and introducing ourselves. And it's awesome to see so many familiar faces, and I look forward to actually catching up with everybody in person, because it seems like these days that's kind of a novelty. So is there anyone in the room who's sitting somewhere that they haven't before at one of these events? Oh, just me? Okay, because I'm up here. Definitely a new spot for me, and wow, the view from up here is amazing, so I'm super excited. We have such an amazing opportunity to chat with a real powerhouse duo tonight. So I would love to introduce Maureen and Gord Haddock to you all. Do you want to come up? It might take us a while to get on these chairs, so we should start. So Maureen and Gord Haddock are of the Trek 2000 Corporation. And we're definitely going to get into that and figure out what exactly that means. So these two have over, oh, here we go. Yep. Oh, come on. Thank you. Woo. I know, they're so tall. We should have got on these before we started talking. Anyway, these two have owned over 18 very diverse businesses. So to me, that in itself is quite remarkable. So a wealth of information here sitting with us. Their story of perseverance and dedication is very inspiring, so I hope that you will get some takeaways from that this evening as we have our conversation. I had an opportunity to chat with them a couple weeks ago, and I tell you, I could have sat and visited with the both of you all day. They're so interesting, they're so fun, they have so much knowledge to share, so I'm very excited to be carrying on the conversation in front of you all tonight, so this is going to be a lot of fun. So, welcome, Maureen and Gord.
Thank you.
Yes. And how are you doing today? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling ready? You're excited?
Oh, you bet.
Okay, perfect. So along with being a story of extreme entrepreneurial success, your story is also a bit of a love story. So I like the idea of starting back from scratch, if that's okay with you. Sure. Gord and Maureen met when they were 12, and Gord confessed to me that it was love at first sight. He told his dad that he was going to marry this girl, and look what happened. Maureen said she needed a little bit more convincing, but I'll let you just maybe share some of those very early memories with us if you could.
Well, she was the new girl that came from out of town, so when you live in a small town, anybody that's new attracts your attention. And she made quite a statement when she walked in, and I knew that she was the one. So,
but I was meeting 30 people, and he only had to see me. So it took me a little while.
I do remember when I told my dad I was going to marry Maureen, and he looked at me with the funniest smile. And as you get older and become a father, you know what that smile is like. Okay. But it actually happened, and I always teased her dad. It's a good thing you treated me nice, because I never went away for the last 50-some years. So.
So I do think that is truly remarkable, that you have been able to develop these amazing businesses together, and also keep and sustain a very successful marriage. Something that you said, Gord, when we had our tea date was that part of what you attribute to that is that you have adopted this mentality of we and not me. And you brought that out when you started to talk a little bit about saving for a motorcycle and how your parents would never buy you anything with wheels. So if you could talk a little bit about that, because I wish that I had had that advice when I was having kids.
Wheels were my currency, and I guess my parents were very attuned to that. And They did two things. One, when I was 6 years old, they stopped giving me allowance. I had to go work in my dad's store, sweeping the sidewalk.
He wanted to.
Yeah, I wanted to do that. I thought that was so cool. And then I graduated to burning the garbage, which, believe it or not, in a small town, we burnt at the back of the store. We had a big burning barrel.
And on Mondays, that was wash day.
Yeah, and we would meet by the burning barrel. So that was one thing. It was you worked and you got paid, and that was a very good lesson. The other thing is wheels. I loved wheels, so I had to buy all my bikes. I didn't care about clothes or anything else, but it's amazing when you have to pay for your own transportation. My friends, I had a few friends that used to smoke the tires off everything they had, but when you're paying for the tires, you don't do that. So and it's an amazing thing because it goes all through your life. You get a little bike, then you get a two-wheeler, then you get a little bigger bike, then you get a motorcycle and another motorcycle, and then a car, and so on. So it follows you all the way up the ladder as far as age goes. So if you instill one thing like that, you just walk away and it takes care of itself.
You started saving for your motorcycle together, from what I understand, at a very early age.
So he says we dated from when we were 12. And I always thought, you should pay for the dates if you're, So I said, well, we were really good friends. But he said, no, we are saving for our motorcycle. So he said that to you at tea the other day. And I thought, it was from right then. I used to think it was because he didn't have any money to take me out. So he got my dad to buy a season ticket to the skating rink, and he would spring in pennies for the hot chocolate. That was a date, so you be the judge.
She was very liberated. She paid her own way.
Paid my own a lot.
But your father was an entrepreneur, so you got an early start with this type of learning and mentality. Is that correct?
Yeah, my dad actually got a degree in pharmacy in 1938, which in the dirty 30s, as you get older, and I often wondered, how did he do that? There was no money, there was nothing. And once he got a degree, if there's any pharmacists in town, in the room, he couldn't get a job. He had to go to Montreal to find a job, interview. He had to buy his own car to be a drug salesman. So kind of shows you what you can do when somebody puts a few obstacles in front of you.
So you definitely have a very interesting early childhood and business mind from an early onset. And Maureen, you followed a path into education at some point during your relationship. You actually became the breadwinner, and you went on to document a lot of Gord's early childhood memories in a series of books. Do you want to just let us know about that? Because I find that that's very interesting.
That was interesting. I mean, you'd think I would know everything about him, having met at 12. But I wrote Get a Bigger Wagon and Get an Even Bigger Wagon by interviewing my own husband several times a week, and the rewrites were amazing because I would trigger a memory and he'd say, well, that's not quite. And we went through this, and I often think it would be really good therapy if you're not sure of the person you're with, just interview them and write a book. Because truthfully, I got to really like him even better. And the reason I decided to do the book is I was so amazed at his attitude in the one story where this little boy, he had all his beer bottles stolen, and he was this far from buying his bike. And I asked him, like I do at the end of every story, well, what did you learn from that? And I was expecting all kinds of other things. And he said, well, I should have had a bigger wagon, because he'd parked those bottles and someone had stolen them. So I thought, well, that's real resilience and good characteristic. So it was a great thing to do, great fun.
These are a lot of stories you never told your mom.
Yeah, well, the third book isn't out because I don't think people would approve.
We have grandchildren, and you can't tell some of the different things we attempted to do in our youth.
Because they would try them, and they're not legal, no.
Well, that's fair. So maybe we will all be looking for that third edition, though.
Yeah,
You piqued our interest.
I could make it X-rated. People love that, right?
Maureen, what are you saying? She is an older woman, and I've been led astray all these years.
Right.
Oh, that's cute. So you have had a number of diverse businesses. Do you mind just highlighting just a few of them so that we can really get a sense of how you've spread your interests out over the years?
I should have brought his list.
Just a couple off the top, and there is one in particular I'd love to dive into a bit more.
We had an advertising company that failed because we were way ahead of the curve in our ideas, like not having radio announcers do all the ads, have somebody else, like my wife. We had music stores, fish and chip shop, stereo shop, drug stores,
Card and gift. Did you
card
say
and
that?
gifts, Lululemon, the body shop,
Souvenirs.
souvenirs.
Right, so business people
construction,
at heart.
Clothing. To clothing.
yeah. We had roots.
Yeah, one in particular that I really feel speaks to the essence of how you've navigated through all of this is that little instrument shop that you had on Broadway. And by the way, that was before Broadway was even a trendy or popular place. You were one of the pioneers on Broadway, and look at it now. Do you mind to just talk a little bit about that business and what that meant to you and how it really helped you to carve out that stick-to-itiveness that I think that you both have developed?
Broadway in the early 70s was maybe like 20th Street was 8 years ago. Just lots of vacant buildings, nobody renting. My partner and I were managing bands. We were booking bands and promoting bands. And we did it on the second story above Shears Karate School, which is, the building's still there, a white building beside the 7-Eleven store. And we did everything to stay alive because the music business is kind of interesting and has its ebbs and flows. And we sold everything from stoves to fridges to anything we could do to stay alive. And one day I said to my partner, Ralph, I said, we got to get down on the street because nobody knows we're here. We're on the second floor. So we decided to start a music store called HEL Music on Broadway, and that stands for Haddock Enterprises. And because our musicians weren't getting any deals on musical instruments, so we thought we'll start a discount music store, which apparently was, I think, probably the first in Canada or one of the first. Our competitors did not like that. They formed a little bit of a monopoly. They told every salesman that came to Saskatoon, if you sell to them, we won't buy from you. And collectively, they bought a lot of stuff from salespeople. So nobody showed up at our store. And they even came in our store so much and said they would put us out of business in 3 months. I said it might take them 6, but they said, no, we'll do it in 3. But they would let the salesmen come to us if we got our prices up. So we said, we're not going to do that. And the fight was on. We checked with a lawyer we knew, and we told him what was going on. He said, well, it's illegal, but you have 10 grand and maybe 3 or 4 years. And the answer, of course, was no and no. So we decided we had to survive. So we found a retailer in the States about 1,000 miles away, 1,500 kilometers, who was a huge dealer and bought so well that when we drove down there to buy stuff from him and we told him our plight, and he was an entrepreneur, and he said, oh, that's great, I'll sell it to you for 10 over cost. The Canadian dollar, believe it or not, was $1.05. It didn't happen till about a few years ago. And so by the time we made a 2,000-mile trip and landed in Saskatoon, we got it for exactly what cost was. So all of a sudden, we had all this gear, and we had exclusive lines. We then also set up another store on 33rd with a guitar teacher, and we would get him orders to put into the companies that wouldn't sell us, and we'd go around at midnight and load the truck up and take it down to our store. Eventually,
Genius, right?
Yeah.
You're genius.
Anyways, a long story short, eventually we sold so much stuff that the salesmen were losing so much commission. They came in and said, "Okay, we want to start selling you guys stuff so that we can get the money." That's sort of the short version.
Right. Well, and this really leads to what we talked about in terms of your definition of what is an entrepreneur. A lot of people may have thrown their hands up at that and said, well, I'm not meant to do this. This isn't for me. So I found it really fascinating how you define what an entrepreneur is. Can you elaborate for us?
Yeah. I don't call anybody an entrepreneur who starts a business and is successful and moves through the world. I call a person an entrepreneur when they start a business, fail, and then start a second one. Because it's easy to do things when you're successful, but it's when you get the crap kicked out of you and you have to regroup that shows if you're an entrepreneur or not. And that's what really where relationships in your family come in to play.
We have to confess it's feast or famine when you have this kind of a husband. But it's like, okay, what are we going to do now?
You have to have a wife that says, when you come home and say, we just lost $200,000, and this was a long time ago. It was real money. And she said, oh, okay, well, what are we doing next? A lot of
Maybe
wives,
I'm the entrepreneur.
a lot of wives might have said, I'm just going to phone my lawyer right now. But, and, when you take someone from a beautiful 10th Street home with, 1,800 square feet just off Broadway, and you put her in a 600 square foot house with a dirt basement with crickets, they have to be made of different stuff. So I guess the one thing I have to say, and it's true in life, but if you're entrepreneurial, you have to choose the right life partner. It is the most important thing you'll ever do. And I know it's that way anyway, but for entrepreneurial people, you have to have somebody that can take the ups and the downs and be there and be your champion.
Well, and it's interesting how you both... Okay, let's clap for that. It's really interesting how you both have supported and built upon each other's strengths over the time. Because there was a point in time when you were a student and Maureen was already working and really being able to follow each other through those paths. So I believe you're exactly right.
He got straight A's the year we were married.
Plus,
Not before.
plus I fed everybody at the bridge table.
Because I really was enthusiastic and the lunches were huge.
Everybody wanted to play cards with me.
So you work at the Broadway music store for quite a while. Then you decide to move back to Rosetown and you take over your family's pharmacy business.
That's because his dad had been really sick for a long time.
Okay.
And then he talked his brother into coming home, who is a pharmacist, is then. And then we really made a decision for the family that your brother came and said, there's work for you too. So we ended up sharing a wonderful few years while your dad was alive, I'm so glad we did it.
And that pharmacy seemed to really shape and define your family, because I recall you saying at one point in time your daughters didn't really understand who they could be outside of that pharmacy business. That was what defined your family. Can you talk a little bit about how you became so invested that way?
That's a really important point, whether it's my life or someone else's. I think a lot of times you get tied up in, we belong to the drugstore, or my parents owned the drugstore, and we owned a couple of drugstores. And when we actually sold the drugstore...
Was a chain, dear?
It was a chain with 2 links. But in his mind, it was the beginning.
Small chain.
But and we have changed a lot of businesses, and I think I confessed to Nadine that when we sold the body shops, it was a long time till I could go shopping in a body shop because they felt like they were still mine. And now I celebrate them completely. But it took a while. And a lot of times when you do change your path, you have to adjust.
When you sell something, your kids always ask you, are we unemployed now?
That's true. They were very concerned for us.
And Maureen, you were talking about our partnership. Maureen has an education degree. Apparently, I'm still in the program. I hope to graduate on our 50th anniversary next year and get a gold-plated something. Anyways, her degree, although she did teach for a few years and put me through school, and she trained every one of our employees, whether it was in drugstore or body shop at home, which we created for the world actually. And she's trained thousands of people for our businesses. So it's really a 1-2 punch. You get somebody who's loves to teach, and you just walk away and away she goes.
Yeah, you've really complemented each other. And I do find that this is so key for business owners.
And I get to sleep with her too.
Okay. That came out of your mouth and not mine, just for the record. So
X-rated.
X-rated. Okay, well. And I said I wasn't going to bring up the white T-shirt thing, but I don't know. Now I think it might be fair game. Okay. I also did promise the chamber not too many bleeps are going to have to come out on the reel, because I know that this is going to be aired through Shaw, so all fun.
Keep it clean.
Keep it clean. We talked about trying to maintain your focus in business. And I find that this is something that I really enjoyed you giving your impression on. When you have a mind for business, you can see opportunities absolutely everywhere. So while you might define yourself in one particular business, when you look around, you're going to see all sorts of opportunities. How do you still stay focused in your task at hand, but allow yourself to diversify and allow yourself to change? So I'm thinking, for example, the pharmacy business comes to a close and Gord is out seeking other opportunities.
Well, I guess when we get something running smoothly and it becomes routine and becomes a job, that's when I get itchy feet and start looking around for something. Sometimes events play their part and you are escorted out of your last idea by other outside forces. And that's what we always try to do with our business, because we've had so many, is you need good people, but how do you keep them? And I always just think about myself is I get bored, so somebody doing the same job would get bored. So how do we make it fun? And that's what we always did. We always gave everybody lots of responsibility, lots of training, sent them places, and we had a heck of a lot of fun. If you saw some of the parties we had, from the bottom of the Cavalier, we built a whole beach with palm trees, and we had a pig on a spit to the Besborough.
Raising the bar for staff parties here.
We had
we got a room.
The Society of Creative Anachronism with their swords and shields. We were fighting on the second floor of the Besborough, and we had a feast with knives and forks.
Yeah, we should.
So anything like that makes it fun and interesting.
But if I could just add one thing. When we were in the drugstores, he would always find complementary businesses even within that business, and that led to the card and gift store. And then somehow we got a stereo shop in the back of the drugstore, which is why it's lovely not to be a franchise. You can follow your creatives, right? And then that led to another stereo shop. And there was a lot of things happening just to keep him really happy with that business, which was running well, and you weren't bored with it. But there was always something else we could do, right? And then when we had to go looking, that was necessary because we sold out to his brother, and we were unemployed. So then it was a much more serious search.
Sure. And I'd like to spend the remaining time that we have actually talking about what you're leading up to here. So the family pharmacy business is closed. Gord needs another opportunity. He goes out to Vancouver just to kind of see what's hot, what's new, to check things out. Finds himself wandering around the mall, just checking things out, then finds himself sitting on a park or on a mall bench all day, watching transactions out of one in particular store. Sat there so long that security actually came and said, okay, who's the guy, who's the stalker sitting on the bench here, sir? What is your intention? So if you could let us know how that has changed your life and what business that was that you were scoping.
We've had 4 franchises and 14 of our own businesses, but that particular one, I actually went to every mall in Western Canada.
Oh, forgive me, not just Vancouver.
No, I was running out of territory. Like I was into the ocean pretty soon. But it was the Body Shop, and it was a small little store, and I mean small. It was 150, 200 square feet, and they had 4 employees. So as a retailer, I'm going, how can you have 4 employees in this little store? What are they doing, playing cards? So I started watching it, and within a few minutes, of course, people started pouring in. So I just sat there all day, like Nadine said, and counted people and did average sale things. And then I went to another mall, found another store, a Body Shop, watched it, same thing happened. Went to a third mall. When I saw it the third time, I said, well, this is a winner. And I asked one of the employees if she could give me the name of the owner who happened to be working that day. I took her outside and said, hi, I'm Gord from Saskatchewan, and that is a tremendous de-stressor. If you're in Toronto, people relax. You're from Saskatchewan.
We are very non-threatening.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently.
And so I said, I have 2 questions. And you can look at me and kick me off the bench and send me packing. But I said, can you tell me what your volume is and what your gross margin is? She said, okay. And she told me. And I said, okay, I lied. I got a third question. What's the number for the franchise office? And she gave it to me. And that began our quest to get a Body Shop, and which I didn't know at the time was owned by women, run by women. The 2 things they did not like were business grads, and they wanted all women. So going into this, I didn't know that. I found that out later. But do you want more story? Or
I don't know.
I love that you go to the head office and you knock on the door and you request a meeting. And they say no, but you don't leave. So yes, I think this is really where your persistence and your faith in your intuition is important to share. And it's a bit of a reverse gender story. We're used to the barriers being on us. So I do think it's important that you had to convince them that you were going to be just as emotionally intelligent as women and that you could take on the Body Shop.
Yeah, they told me not. I said I was flying out that morning to come and see the head franchisee, Margot. And she said, don't come to Toronto. We'll send you a package. And you got to fill it in, and you got to do this. And I said, no, I'll see you tomorrow. So I flew in, and I had a suit on, which was the dumbest thing because I never wear suits. And I pulled up in front, and of course everybody's in blue jeans, and I stood out. As I've told you, I might as well have been naked because I was the weird guy out front in a suit. Anyways.
And a guy.
Yeah, and they wouldn't let me. Nobody would talk to me, so I changed my strategy, went home, got my jeans, took the tube out to the head office the next day, got there an hour before anybody who worked there got there, and every employee that came to the plant, I would introduce myself as a new Saskatchewan franchisee for the Body Shop, and then I'd spend the day sitting in the lobby with the receptionist because they wouldn't see me. And at nighttime, I go and do the reverse. I thank everybody hope they had a good day and would see you tomorrow. And I did this all week. And eventually.
Right? That is serious intention and serious stick-to-itiveness.
And eventually, Margot, who was the head franchisee for Canada, came out and said, "You're not leaving, are you?" I said, "Oh yeah, when you give me the franchise." She said, "Okay, I've had enough of you, but we'll give you a shot at it. You come back and we'll put you through training, and if I think you're good enough, we'll give you a franchise." So that began our quest, came and got taught, learned things, and finally the big day came, and I was told, "You're going to have the meeting." And Margot pulled into the store and she started grilling me on skincare and this.
On the shop floor.
On the shop
This
floor.
was 3 months of training, correct?
Well, it was supposed to be 3 months. I wiggled my way, saying I knew I had a whole bunch of businesses, so they didn't need to give me 2 months of other training.
Plus, you'd never spent any time away from Maureen. This was a big
it was
deal to have
really
to be away.
hard.
Yeah, big phone bill. So, and
No cell phones, no texting.
so I could answer everything she asked, and she said, "Oh, geez, you really know this." Not quite like that, a little more forceful than that. She said, "Let's go have a wine and dinner," and that's how we got the franchise.
I think we got to clap for that one. That is hugely And Maureen becomes the trainer, so here's where you link your skill set in together as people and work together on the business. So how did you find you fit into that role, Maureen?
Well, he seems to always think when it's time to do something. So I wasn't the trainer initially, he was. And he has a really unique style. There was a lot of memory and tricks. And so I said,
University training.
Yeah, it was not your educational, pattern, but they knew their stuff nonetheless. But when he said, "You have to be the trainer now because we've got more stores, and we don't want to have someone be the trainer because you have to go away and learn everything and come back, and then they'll leave and we'll have to start all over again. So we want an in-house trainer, and you have an education degree." So it was probably one of the best things I ever did. We had 20 years with the company. I think I was training maybe 17 of them. And the friendships, the knowledge, the social campaigns we were involved in, the people I met, it was really my cup of tea, really.
Well, it's become a household name, right? So I think when the Body Shop came into Saskatoon, it was such a big deal. So it's really, really nice to see who was at the root of that. So well done. So things change at head office for the Body Shop. So we're going to just leap ahead again. You sell the business. Now you're out opportunity seeking again. This time it's Maureen out shopping. She sees an athletic store, saunters in, decides to try on some clothing, has a look, and says, "Yeah, I like what I see." Gord agrees. He likes what he sees. And that same day you were having a conversation with Lululemon. So it's seeing that opportunity and just pouncing on it. Can you talk a little bit about that part of the journey?
Well, first of all, they overlapped a little, which was really a blessing. Initially a hardship because Lulu did not make money initially when it came here. But we were there with Belly Button Buddies, which is an entertainment thing we did. And we were by a Body Shop and we went across and Gord just did his thing. I said, "I know Lululemon because Nicole had received a gift and the sewing was amazing and I do sew." And I said, "I've never seen anything made like this before." And so my friend and I went to see if they could fit us, and they certainly did. And when we came out, Gord was busy in a conversation and he had an appointment to meet Chip Wilson that afternoon. So that's just Gord's style. And so it was nice to have the overlap and to have the focus on something different. But I was very emotionally invested at that point in the Body Shop still. So.
And again, we were trying to get a television show on the CBC, and that was a project that took us 10 years, and we finally got a television show called the Belly Button Buddies, which some of you may remember or not. If you had young kids, then you would. And it was in Saskatchewan, and we eventually got it on we have a small interest in some stations in England, and we got it on a station in Birmingham.
Can we watch this? Is this available for us here in Canada?
It's on. Do you have?
I don't think that the TV show is available yet because they're still selling it, but I think we'll be able to do that eventually. When I find out. The songs, though, are on iTunes and things like that. I saw it performed just last week.
Oh, that's very cool. Well, as you can tell, we could sit and talk to these wonderful people all day long, all evening long. And I don't think the conversation necessarily has to stop after we wrap up. There's going to be an opportunity to visit. But just a few things that I would love to touch on, because I know you're up to some really interesting and important things now. Before we transition, though, I do recall you saying that you have very specific routines within your company and together that I think really help you to walk together during this path of entrepreneurship and marriage. And you talked about some of those routines that you have morning and evening, which I think is very sweet.
Well, he makes my coffee every morning, and he delivers it, wakes me gently up. And then we have, most days, we try. The rules are, we sip coffee and talk only positive things. Periodically, something slips in and we go, oh, it's coffee time.
Politics.
Yeah, no. It's been a spoiler lately, gotta say. Anyway, and then in the evening we have a cocktail together, and that's the fun part too, because we've had days apart. And we can hardly wait to get back and tell each other what our day was. In fact, I talk way too much because sometimes he's sitting on something fabulous and I'm spilling out my day. And then he quietly says, by the way, and I'm going, oh, I should have asked you first. But it's good.
The coffee can happen even if it's at 4 a.m.
Yep.
You will stick
yeah.
to that, even if you have a very early meeting. And I think that if you actually are the type of people to do that, that is when you really get to that next level, because you're committing to that part of being a cohesive team as business partners and as a couple.
Yeah, we always were. We worked together, but we worked separately. Like she would be doing training, I would be doing something else. My son-in-law says all I do is drive around in a truck all day, but I occasionally do some things. And so when you get together, you've both been doing other things, so you got to kind of touch base, say, what would you do today? So, and it's fun.
No, I think that's a great takeaway for all of us. You were going to say something.
I was going to say it's really fun if we accidentally run into each other.
Oh, okay.
Like, really, isn't it? Like, oh, what are you doing here? This is my turf.
Okay, so a couple speed round items brought to you by the lovely, intelligent people in the orange jackets. So I said we would get to this if we have time permitting. Everybody still doing okay? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Are you guys doing okay?
Oh,
yeah.
fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of when you have saved your company money by thinking outside of the box?
I think the first real big one was our body shop in Midtown Plaza, which was, if you were ever there, it was about 240 square feet. We paid the most rent of anybody in that mall because we were small and we had high sales and paid a percentage rent.
Yeah.
And I always used to think, I wish the store was like an accordion and I could shrink it. We did 40% of our sales in 6 weeks, so
Great.
That's harvest, and that's like November 15th to December 24th. So I said, if I could just grow it and then shrink it back. And I wasn't able to grow it until the all shop moved out and we took over their spot. But we kind of pioneered Christmas kiosks, and that gave us the extra space to sell stuff, because when we first were going, we had customers that literally went from our store right out to First Avenue, and they're like four across. Like we had to control so many in, so many out. So it really took.
You would run up and down with water and cough candies, and
try to keep.
You don't want customers dropping.
Yeah,
Right.
And then so that really helped. And then we put those stores in all the malls, and at that time the only type of kiosks were kind of a store kiosk. They were quite big. Now you see these little miniature ones that you can rent and stuff. But
Well, that's amazing. You definitely thought outside of the box and helped keep your customers happy because you could get them their product sooner and increase
and
your
we
product
also
sales.
started the body shop at home.
Right, the home parties.
Yeah, and we grew to, we had 100 reps that Maureen trained, and that worked really good because everybody got the touch and feel and smell and all the products. So when they came to town, you were on the must-go-to list, which is really important, especially today with the internet.
So these
You
were
got
reps in small towns all
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, you have to get on that list. In the old days, people went to mall, went to 7, 8, 9 stores. Now people, I don't know what the stats are, probably 3. So if you're not on the list of the 3, you're in trouble. So
Brilliant. You spoke about your father being an entrepreneurial role model. Is there anyone else in your life that you try to emulate?
my mom only told me one thing: never say can't. That was it. But she said
Moms
a
are
lot.
smart.
She
Moms
said
are
it
smart.
a lot. It was quite drilled into me.
She was the perfect mom for him because it was always up to him, but he knew the consequences. But he could make up his own mind, and it was a great way to handle you. I'm not sure I could have raised him.
Some say you did.
Yeah, thank you.
You would have definitely
And
had a role.
still are.
True.
And I asked Maureen how she stays focused and how you trust yourself that you are making the right decision for your business and moving forward. Your answer is very straightforward. You said that you take the next logical step. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for us?
I actually stole that from Rebecca Farthing because she said, how do you know what you're going to do next? Or I asked her, what's next for her? That was how it went down. And she said, I don't make huge plans. I have to confess, I don't really have detailed business plans. I just see where my life is and take the next logical step. And so I believe you need tons of friends of all ages, and you need to hear them, and every one of them will give you one idea. And I think it's far safer than looking to one mentor. I think variety is far better than one path. So
You need lots of people that have failed.
yeah, and you know what we say about, you don't necessarily have to fail to the level we did once or twice. Maybe just have almost failed and helped yourself out of it. That might still be an entrepreneur.
You might as well learn from everybody else's dollar. Like, why repeat the same silly thing that they did?
Well,
right?
there's lots to be learned from everybody's failures. But the truth is, we always hung out with older people when we were younger. And now we are the older people, and there's lots of younger people in our lives that give us such a perspective, but they still hear how it was and how we did things. And we still like to do new things. I mean, if he had an idea tomorrow or saw something, I have no doubt we'd be doing it if it seemed logical.
She just last year did the Porsche driving school, and while there's lots of old guys like me, the guy says, man, you got to be the oldest lady that's ever taken this course.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, she was rocking. I was trying to follow her, who was following the instructor, going around this course. And when she started the first day, it was like, but I'll tell you, at the end of the last day, she was smoking. It's sort of typical. That's get to know what's going on and then give her. I just give her and then
and then
correct.
I tell him what's really going on. Right?
True.
So I guess final question, and thank you so much for being here. This has just been wonderful. I would love to really bring it back to your motto because I think it's fantastic. Work hard, have fun, make money, and give back. So clearly, you've demonstrated the work hard and the make money component of your motto, and it's clear that you're very fun-loving and spirited people. Can you tell us what you're up to now? What is the give back component? What's important to you? And what lies ahead for Trek 2000?
Have you got an hour?
We have,
5 minutes.
you let us know
Well,
what's going on. This is important.
I have to give a plug because one thing that we are very excited about is a Get a Bigger Wagon Young Entrepreneurs business competition that we run with Edward School of Business. And our last year was our inaugural year, and I'm still in touch. And when you want to be with young kids, these are under 15. So you have to be 7 to 15, and you have to actually have a business. It's not an idea challenge. It's like, are you making any money? And are you actually showing up to work occasionally? And I've had communications that kids that didn't make it last year are coming back this year and have fine-tuned their businesses. So it's great. So September 1st to December 1st is the entries, and just tell everybody, we've got posters.
Yeah, just go on the Edwards site and get a bigger wagon. We also have a entrepreneurial speaker series that happens that same day. And we also have an entrepreneurial scholarship. And we have been trying for 25 years and 16s to get entrepreneurship as a major in the College of Commerce, Edward School of Business. And it is now a core class. So we're hoping
That's fantastic.
that someday, right, Keith?
We do. Where is Keith?
He's here.
He's probably hiding.
But entrepreneurs are not always super academic, so I can see where they're reluctant.
Well, that's fantastic. And Maureen, you did bring something really special for a lucky audience member.
We did. We brought a publishing package with 4 books.
Right. Okay. So I'm being alerted that we're going to open it up to questions.
Oh, questions
first. And then, yes, you do have a very special prize pack, which is, I think, fantastic. You can read a little bit about what we've been talking about with the Get a Bigger Wagon series. And
that's right.
So I would just love to give you a big round of applause. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
And I'd like to give you a big round of applause for your inaugural interview, saying, well done.
Thank you. You guys have been a very welcoming crowd. So we'll turn it over to Cody. Some questions from the floor.
If you have a question, just put your hand up. I will bring you the mic.
Guys, she couldn't keep her hands off me. I know you wanted to know that.
Shush.
It's a curse, believe me.
I have of course, I'm on the other side of the room, right? So anyway, I have a question. A lot of entrepreneurs get really caught up trying to run their business and stay afloat and competitive pressure, and it's hard to find a balance between the business and the family without the family taking a back seat. So do you have any advice on how to find that balance when you're running a business?
I put my kids to work.
Yeah.
In the store.
That is great advice.
That's true.
They didn't like dusting, but they sure like to run tills. I can tell you that much.
We had one duster.
Yeah.
But I'd like to add to that when I was not involved in the business as much, I would do a bit at the drugstore, but I had babies. Gord would sit me down periodically and just go through everything that was going on in our business and ask my opinion. And I was actually flattered and surprised, but it made me feel like it was our business, which is what has to happen if you have a spouse or a partner in another career. You have to still share a little of what you are about. I think it's communication, it really is.
Yeah, and you have to care more about the other person than you do about yourself.
Yeah.
And usually everything kind of works out from that point on. And there, like you said, there's no my time, my money. It's our time and our future and our goals. And you have to have, that goes back to picking the right partner that has the same dreams, the same goals as you do. Because if you don't, and you're entrepreneurial, it's going to be, the wind isn't always blowing on your back when you're an entrepreneur.
Well, I'd say you guys lucked out at age 12, just saying. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
How do you balance working in your business versus on your business? Because it sounded like you were working in your business in a lot of the entrepreneurial ventures you took.
You know what? I've never thought about it. Like we just go by instinct, gut feel. Again, try to make it fun for everybody and give them, everybody thinks it's always money. You gotta have money, and it isn't. People have to have fun, and they have to enjoy going to work, and they have to be loaded up with responsibility, and you've gotta challenge them and give them training.
But you worked in your businesses until they were established, and then he would try to clone some version. It's never going to be the same as you, but you can get a management person that is similar and work with them, and then you could do another business. So I think the hands-on was essential until you, before you expand, in other words.
You always have to clean the toilets first. Then nobody can ever say, well, I don't like to do it, you don't do it. Well, they see you doing that, and they know when it's your turn, nobody can whine or say anything.
I could also add being in your business in a way as working on your business too, because you learn so much on the days when you're in it that you can make better decisions after outside of it, right?
And if you know everything about your business and you work in it for 1 or 2 years, that's how you can grow, is you find who your champion is, make them responsible for that location, and then go start another one. And all our people that we had in management positions stayed with us for, sometimes almost 2 decades, till we left, for example, the body shop. Because we were having fun. They were their own boss. No one ever got penalized for making a mistake. If we reviewed it, we adjusted, they knew that the only time they would get in trouble is if they did the same thing again.
Yeah, that's fair. And we have time for one more.
All right. Hi, Gord and Maureen. I got to know you when I was going through the Edwards School of Business back in 2005 to 2009. Loved hearing your story today. It's awesome to see what you guys have accomplished as a couple. I work with a lot of young entrepreneurs and people who work in the retail space. And with the way that the internet has changed things with online sales, what would be your advice to a young retail entrepreneur starting out in today's business environment?
Get to know your customers. You'll never lose a customer if they come in your store and they say, "Oh, hi, Brian. How are you going? How are the twins? Are they getting any teeth or what?" Now, you can't get that at the internet. And the internet makes everything distant and cold. So you have to champion that warm fuzzy. I'll give you an example. I went to a bank, not my bank, to pay my Visa bill, and I've had this Visa card for 50 years. And I like going to the bank. It's not my regular bank, but I have my Visa. And I know lots of people in that bank and know them to see them because they've been doing it for years. And they said, well, we don't take checks now from other banks. So that means I have to pay, which I did this afternoon, by EFT or whatever you want to call it. And for me, going there I enjoyed going in there and seeing these people and getting to know them and building that relationship. Especially if you take a bank, someday you want to borrow money, and if they don't know who you are, how are you going to say, hey, I'm good for this? They'll use a bunch of numbers, but I can tell you a bunch of numbers mean nothing. It's what's at the core of the individual who signs on the bottom line. So I would say get to know your customers, make it personal, because the internet cannot compete against that. And go the extra mile. You want that delivered? Sure.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, great question and great follow-up.
For us tonight, I just want to say thank you again. And on behalf of all of us and the Chamber team and all of our sponsors, Connexus, Thrive, Edwards, Doreen's, LB, Sound Lounge, W Law, Payworks. Yes, it's a test. I have to have them memorized. Lift, Royal LePage, and the Saskatchewan Rattlers. I will get that right going forward. Thank you for making Chamber on Tap your choice for networking. We love to see everyone out here. It's such a great event. I do encourage everyone to stay a little longer, get some more networking in, grab another drink. There's more food at the back. If you do want or need help with an introduction and facilitating some networking, find myself, another person in an orange jacket, or any of the chamber staff you see around. We're all happy to help. Lastly, I would say keep your ear to the ground for upcoming chamber events, and I'll see you all back here next month on November 6th, where Nadine will be interviewing the wonderful Daria Martin of Boost Strategic Coaching. So with that said, plan a safe ride home and have an excellent night.